Welcome to Packmates, a podcast about Magic the Gathering Limited, where we take a deep dive in the current limited formats. The Packmates are a group of friendly card sharks who enjoy hanging out, drafting, and going to F&M. I'm Ryan, your resident aggro expert.
I'm Robi, your resident Dirtle expert.
I'm Andrew, your resident mid-range expert.
And I'm Joel, your resident combo expert.
And
we are the Packmates.
We're the Packmates.
This week we're going to talk Outlaws at Thunder Junction. We did some play testing already with some kind of constructed drafty decks with some constraints. I also have all my forms to rate the cards up on the Discord. So if you want to rate the cards one by one, go through those.
It'll help you.
Yeah. It's good
at least 20% win rate.
One bonus win per pre-release, I think, at least.
At least. For sure. Genuinely.
I will say I did them all last time, won the pre-release.
That's the key.
So,
yep.
100% results
it helps
there every
a lot.
time.
Yep.
Like, just not having to read all your opponent's cards saves you time. And that also prevents a lot of, like...
Basically, results guaranteed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or your money back. So yeah, this week we did some constructed draft type things. We're also going to talk about some signposts and commons. Me and Robi kind of rated them from best to worst. So we made some decks. I made 3. I'm going to start off with Celestia. And so I made a Celestia deck. The rules were kind of like use the signposts, stay on the tracks.
Yeah.
Don't try to break anything right now. Don't use too many rares. I think my role was I put 3 rares in every deck. Most decks I did 5 uncommons, so 2 signposts plus 3 other ones, and then
that's like too weak.
I mean, they were competitive. Fairly competitive.
Sure.
But yeah, like I think in general you're gonna get more than 8,
especially in like play packs, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think there were times in the last set where like I have more uncommons than I have commons. Right?
Yeah, there were like 8 rare decks that I had in the last set.
Yeah. Being able to get 5 uncommons in a play pack really does kind of skew it quite a bit.
Yeah. But the goal of these was to try like multiple different cards and kind of see
to like learn the set kind of. Play with
my decks are
cards.
mostly one-ups.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think our rules were you can only have 2 copies of a common, of 2 commons.
Yep.
So the green-white deck is all about mounts and mounted creatures. So its first signpost is like a 3/2 for 2. And whenever a mounted creature attacks, you put a 1/1 counter on it, and mounts you control have hexproof on your turn. And then the other one, which I think is going to be like nuts, is a 1/4 flyer for 3. When it ever attacks, if it's saddled, I think its saddle cost is 3.
Yeah, its saddle cost is pretty high.
It's a 1/4 lifelink flyer for 3. And whenever it attacks when it's saddled, it gets +X/+X, where X is the number of mounts you control. So if you saddle it by itself, it's a 2/5 flying lifelinker. And if you have 1 more mount, it's a 3/6, and it's like impossible to race a 3/6 lifelinker. So I went with a mounts deck. The biggest standout mount that I think I had that I actually drew tonight, because we only played the decks once or twice, was Stubborn Burrow Fiend. Went in a green for a 2/2 mount. When it becomes saddled for the first time each turn, mill 2 cards. And then it gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. No, you do not have to attack with it to mill the cards. Just whenever you saddle it the first time each turn. So you can saddle it, mill the cards, decide if you want to attack. That's pretty big upside. But playing this on 2, followed by the signpost that gave it a counter on 3, was just backbreaking early.
Yeah, it was really annoying.
And then like Robi had to kill like the signpost first because like it was way more scary. And that guy had hexproof on my turn. And then like he kills that and it makes it bigger. You know what I mean? It was just like crashing in for 5 on turn 4. Like it was just busted.
It was annoying.
Yeah. The other card I didn't get to play that I think will be very good in these decks is Train Arnix. It's 1 and a white for a 3/1 mount, saddle for 2. And when it attacks while saddled, it gains first strike and you scry 1. So a 3/1 first striker. A green staple that I think I saw in every green deck that was made tonight is Hard Bristle Bandit. 1 and a green for a 1/1. Tap it to add 1 mana of any color. Whenever you commit a crime, untap it.
Which one thing that I've noticed is I think it's pretty easy to commit crimes.
My decks didn't like go for it, but it was convenient sometimes that, you know, it untapped. Like I would just tap it for the mana and then like my spell cost 1 less. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead.
Having the double mana dork upside, even if it doesn't happen very often, when it does happen, the upside is so insanely high that it helps a lot.
I mean, people play 1 mana or 2 mana 1/1s that tap for a mana like all the time. Like this one just is that plus upside.
Yeah.
The floor is already pretty high and the ceiling is insane.
Yeah.
And it's also an outlaw. Like it
Which is
just goes in
annoying.
every single green deck. The next card I played that I think is going to also be a staple in a lot of green decks. It reminds me of a card that we used to have. It's a 3-mana 2/3. When it enters the battlefield, mill 3 cards. Then you can put a land card from among the milled cards into your hand. If you didn't hit any land cards though, you can make a treasure token.
Yeah, that card's just good. Yeah. There was one in what is it called? Midnight Hunt.
Yeah,
There was also
Yeah,
the
Trample.
2/3.
yeah, and
For
there were,
3, yeah. That's
for
what this
3,
is.
yeah, but it didn't have the upside that
yeah. If
Yeah.
you whiffed,
Yeah, we've come a long way.
you'd
now.
whiff, and it felt bad. The other one was the beast, and Phyrexian will be one that proliferated if you whiffed.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
you could choose to whiff, right?
Contagious
You could
Morass.
choose
you
to
could
whiff.
choose.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was a 3/3.
It was very good. It was like
Yeah.
one of the best green commons.
Yep. One of the other key uncommons I think for this deck is Frontier Seeker. It's a 2-mana 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a mount creature card or a plains card from among them and put it in your hand. Put the rest at the bottom in a random order. You're playing lots of mounts and you're obviously playing plains. This is going to hit a lot. And mostly, I mean, even if it just hits a land.
That's
pretty
so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. Genuinely, like
There's lots of like little mount shenanigans too that like return things to your hand or like
Mhm.
bounce things.
the possum.
Yeah.
The
The possum.
awesome possum.
Yep.
Yeah.
And those are the main cards I wanted to talk about in that deck. I was basically the Naya color bear. So the next deck I made, if I can get to it here, was Boros. Boros is about like activated abilities and it's like weird. It's like all about mercenaries, like creating mercenaries and activated abilities.
It seemed really complicated.
It's like it's not as aggressive as you'd want it to be. It's kind of weird.
It's like combo-y almost.
Yeah. So like the mercenaries I did learn were like very good. Like the 1/1 mercenaries you make that can like
Yep.
tap to
Yep.
give something +1 +0.
The fact that it's free is super real.
Yeah, yeah. And then so the signpost is a 4-mana 2/4. When it enters the battlefield, you make a mercenary, and then whenever you activate an ability that targets a creature or player, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. So all your mercenaries give +2 +0 or +1 +0 to 2 things.
Yeah.
That's huge. Like
Yeah.
+2
It's
+0
also
is
super cute. It's also super cute with the one that pings,
yeah.
right? You
Yep.
target them with the ping, it doubles the ability, right?
Yep.
Pinging for 2 instead of 1 is an insane increase.
Yes. Yes. And then it's funny you mentioned that. I have that as one of my key cards in here. This is a little cute combo I had. I had a rare called Taiwakin Perfect Shot. It's red and a white for a 2/3. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to a creature equal to that creature's toughness, you draw a card. But the other thing it has is X tap it. Sorry, my picture's rotating on me and it's messing me up. I can't fix it. Okay. If a source you control would deal non-combat damage to a permanent or player this turn, deals that much damage plus X instead. So that guy with the duelist is fireball on a stick to face or to any creature. Not to any creature,
Yeah.
but to face. I thought that was kind of cute.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Prickly Pear, I think, is one of the best red commons. It's a 3-mana 2/2 that makes a 1/1 mercenary. ETBs. And
Yep.
then
3 power for 3 mana.
yeah, it's like just like
Yeah.
Inside Source, right?
Yep.
And then Vengeful Townsfolk is a card that I think will be overlooked early in the set, but I think will end up being relatively good. It's a 3-mana 3/3. Whenever one or more other creatures you control die, put a 1/1 counter on it. But the fact that it's a 3-mana 3/3 with upside is like pretty big. It's trivial to make it a 3-mana 4/4. Especially when you have mercenaries that are pumping their things at like half the block. Yeah, that deck seemed good. The other red signpost is X red white, make X 1/1 mercenaries that tap to give something power.
That seems pretty good.
Yeah, I'm a little.
bonkers.
I mean, you pay 5, you get 3 1/1s. Like it's not amazing. You know what I mean?
Look, this is a standard set, but all I'm saying is anytime I look at X red white, I'm getting flashbacks to 4th year Lingus. Little bit of a difference between 2/2s with trample and haste, but still,
Yeah.
like
The deck I was most excited about was Gruul. And one of their signposts I think is really good. It's a 4/4 for 4. Reach, ward 2. At the beginning of combat on your turn, other creatures you control with power 4 or greater gain trample and haste until end of turn. So reach and ward 2 on a 4/4 is like mega annoying. And
It was
then-
super annoying to deal with. Yeah.
And then if you have one mercenary, almost every dude in your deck can have power 4. Like
Yeah.
it's
Making it
that does
bigger.
make it really easy to enable. And then it's also like a nice mix of offense and defense, right?
yep.
Where it's like a 4/4 blocks for days, but at the same time, giving yourself trample makes it really easy to get in for scary amounts of damage.
Yep. And then the other one is a 1 red and a green 4/2 that whenever a creature with power 4 or greater attacks, you make a treasure token. You can pay 2, sack a treasure token, and deal 1 to any target. That one,
That is sweet.
yeah, I'm not as impressed with that one, but I think it's like fine. I think you're going to want treasures for the deck, just to ramp into big stuff. A card I was super impressed with in this deck was Tumbleweed Rising. 1 in a green, create an XX green elemental where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Often 2 mana, make a 4/4. Pretty insane. And then I'm really high on all the tricks that cost 1 that also commit crimes. So Quick Draw is very good. It's a instant for 1 red. Target creature you control gains +1/+1 and first strike until end of turn. Creatures target opponent controls lose first strike and double strike until end of turn. So it just commits a crime for like free while also winning a combat.
Yeah.
I also had really good experiences with that one. That felt like a strong combat trick.
Yeah. Yeah. And just the crime upside is insane. It's going to go in lots of red decks.
For sure.
Aloe Alchemist played really well. It's a 2 mana 3/2 with trample, but you can plot it for 1 in a green. And then when you plot it, target creature gets +3/+2 in trample. It also helps enable your stuff. It's like a 2 for 1. Yeah, that deck was sick. There's lots of sick, like I rated the cards, and I think I rated the green cards probably the highest. Like the green cards just felt super strong. There's also this, I forget what it's called exactly, but it's a 3 mana 3/3 that you can plot for 4. And then if you cast it or enter the battlefield without being cast, it comes with 2/1/1 counters. So on turn 3, it can be a 3/3, but if you plot it on turn 4 and then play it for free on turn 5, it's a 5/5. That card seemed pretty decent at common. But
It does just scale really well. It's like an X spell kind of, but not quite the same.
Yeah. Yeah, like the play that Robi foiled was I plotted that, and then turn 5 I was going to play the signpost and give it haste and then crack in for 5/5 trample. But Robi played Giza and I had to kill that. But
Which is a busted rare.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I think the Cactus Folk sure shot's going to be pretty scary when your opponent plays it.
It is scary. The War 2 is really scary. Like from a Demir perspective, like just trying to deal with that.
Yeah, especially if it comes out on time. It's pretty hard to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the decks I played. What about you, Robi?
I ended up playing Demir, Semic, and Orzov, and I'll recite them in the order of how cool they are. So I'll start with Demir because it felt super busted, low key. And the main uncommons that they have for Demir, you're gonna want to remember this one: Lazav, Familiar Stranger, which is 1 blue and a black. Whenever you commit a crime, put a +1/+1 counter on Lazav, and you can exile a card from a graveyard, and it becomes a copy of it until end of turn, which is super, super good. And reminded me a lot of Invasion of Amonkhet. Just like how like wacky it was with like all the super, because like one thing I've noticed about this format is everything just feels turbo strong.
Yeah.
Everything's a little supercharged. And Demir is like, I think probably like one of the premier super hardcore commit a crime decks. I think Rakdos is super heavy on it too. Rakdos is kind of like a blend of that and Mercenaries. But I think Demir is like the purest ultra commit a crime deck.
Yeah.
And the other signpost uncommon, which is like probably my favorite card in the entire set, is Intimidation Campaign. One a blue and a black for an enchantment. And whenever it enters the battlefield, it pings your opponent for 1. You gain 1 and you draw a card. And whenever you commit a crime, it gets returned to your hand. So you could just keep doing this over and over and over again. Yeah, I loved it. It was super good. And one thing I've noticed about Demir is there's like quite a few. They're like the payoffs are all over the place.
Yeah.
Like I think like the payoff to like enabler ratio is pretty crazy. Like there's tons of payoffs and tons of. I think you're going to see like a pretty wide range of Demir decks.
Yeah, I mean, enablers are like things that target your opponent's stuff, which is like your
everything.
Magic,
like Demir even has like 1 mana creature enablers. Like my next, probably one of the best blue commons for Demir, anyways, is Harrier Strix, the 1 mana blue 1/1 flyer. and whenever it enters the battlefield, tap target permanent. And 3 mana, you can loot with it. But yeah, just a 1 mana enabler is crazy. Super strong. You could tap lands.
Yeah.
Which is funny. But
I think it'll be worse in the set without ninjutsu.
dude, imagine if that was in there. That would be so crazy.
Oh man,
That card was busted. Now, what was it called? I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, it
Like
basically did the same thing.
it did the same thing. It was just way more relevant because it was like an artifact too for no reason, and yeah, network disruptor.
Yep, network disruptor.
Yeah. Another super highlight that I have in Demir is the Raven of Hell Omens, the 2 mana 1/2 flyer. Whenever you commit a crime, drain for 1. You
Once
deal
each
1.
turn.
Yeah, once each turn. Yep.
Yeah, that card seemed good.
Seems super good. Yep. And I think the lands are going to be super important in Demir. The common ping lands, the
Yeah.
ping deserts, super strong.
Nothing like committing a crime when you're playing a land.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
free. For free. 0 mana.
I mean, you gotta
Gotta play a tap land.
play a tap land in your deck.
A tapped dual land.
A tap
Yeah.
dual land
You
that
play
you
tap
play.
duels.
The tempo that you lose on that is pretty great, though. Unless you have the
Yeah,
untap guy.
It like turns a top deck of a tap land into a relevant play.
Into like 2/1 counters. and
yeah, on
Like, it's-
Lazov. And like you like you exile their best creature from their graveyard. Yeah. It's so real.
Lazov was insane. Like it was impossible to deal with, especially in red green. Like I could fight it or I could shoot it for 4,
Yeah.
and it's like it has 1 counter on it. I can never kill it.
Yeah.
Also, like, imagine top decking that, and then it just starts your intimidation campaign loop all over again. Because like once you play it, and then you bump it back to your hand, and then you can just keep going. If you draw another crime committing spell,
It is important to note intimidation campaign does not commit a crime.
yeah,
That's
which is
each
sad.
of them. Yeah.
I wish it did. That would be broken though.
Yeah, that would be.
Wouldn't it trigger itself then?
It would
No.
tr-
Yeah, it would trigger itself, and
Oh.
you'd have it would go infinite with 2.
No, go infinite with 1 because like
Oh
you
yeah,
bounce back
yeah,
to
yeah.
itself,
That
yeah.
would be funny.
that
Yeah,
would be absurd.
1 card combo.
One
Every
card
3
combo.
mana, I just drain you for 1 and draw a card.
That seems pretty good.
It's so fun. Yeah, and 2 with the Raven. And then my next deck that I had was
It's not a crime, so no, it doesn't.
Mm.
Semic.
Semic.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Semic is gonna end up being like the premier plot deck.
Yeah.
Like that's
Oh.
like the main mechanic in it. And one of my favorite cards ever. It's kind of like a mix between like the plot deck and like the Azorius like flash everything. You do nothing on your turn.
Yep.
And probably one of my favorite cards in it is Canyon Crab, the 2 mana 0/5, which I already love that stat line.
It's huge. It's
It's
impossible.
so
to get
impossible
yeah.
to deal with. And at the beginning of your end step, if you haven't cast a spell from your hand this turn, draw a card, then discard a card. Busted.
Yeah.
Like you just get rewarded for doing nothing, which is tight.
Aggro's dead.
Aggro is dead. Yeah.
Damn.
Especially with Canyon Crab
Really?
scuttling along.
I think it's gonna have a rough time in this format. I think Rakdos is like the only heavy aggro deck.
And then
Maybe Isit.
It can go pretty fast.
Yeah.
In my experience, yeah.
Mhm.
another comment that I think is super important to the deck is the Geyser Drake. This is more of like the flash kind of Semic deck, but it's a 2/3 flyer for 3 that makes your spells not cast on your turn for you costs 1 less, which is pretty relevant.
Yep.
And Loan Shark, which is kind of like the like bridge between the Semic and the where it plots, but also like it's yeah.
Yeah. If you cast 2 or more spells this turn when it enters the battlefield, draw a
Yep.
card. So
Yep.
3/4 for 4.
Yeah.
Mm.
Also plots for 4.
I just got
Yep.
plot for 3 in blue. Yeah.
Yep. And I think ideally you want to plot something on turn 3 and then play that on turn 4.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty sick.
It kind of does like the Isit thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the Semic deck's going to play pretty good with red in this format.
Yep.
And yeah, it's pretty okay. And one rare that I had bad luck with, but everyone else had good luck with, was a Flibble Flip.
Oh, yeah.
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 I think I don't know. I think it might be a little overrated.
Yeah, I had it specifically with the green blue signpost that makes plotting cost 2 less.
Yeah, that's like the best possible case for it. Yeah. When I had it, I just was decking lands. I was just hitting lands, and it was horrible.
So you
I
were
was like, cool, I'm glad I paid 3 mana for this 1/1 that's doing nothing.
you were losing regardless of what that card was. That 3 mana card was.
It could have been like draw 2, and I maybe could have got out of it, right?
I mean, I don't know, maybe.
The 3 mana draw 2, I was very impressed by. It is often 2 mana. Like,
Yeah, it's probably
you
really
just
good.
commit a crime.
And
Yeah.
Like,
is it? But yep. And then Orov, probably like the most boring deck. I don't like it. But yeah, like
What's
the
theme?
main theme of Orzhov, I think, is like it's like a token sacrifice deck. Signpost uncommon, what is it called? Baron Greywalker, which is more like Baron Midwalker because he's mid.
Got him.
Damn.
Got him. 4 mana, 3/4. Whenever you make a token, make another token. Whatever.
Make a 1/1 lifelink token specifically.
Yeah. Whatever.
And you can pay 1 in a
Nobody
black to
cares.
sack a to draw a card.
Yeah. He seemed pretty mid, but one card that didn't seem mid was the Treasure Dredger. The 2 mana 2/2 that you can pay 1 life, tap it, and make a treasure token. That seemed pretty good. That
Yeah.
seemed very good in this deck. Like just being able to like ramp up,
Feels like whenever treasures are in black.
it's busted
Black's gonna be
always.
good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, you have to do some work.
Yep. Another kind of standout uncommon was Rakish Crew, the 3 mana enchantment. Whenever it enters the battlefield, make a mercenary. And whenever a mercenary dies,
An outlaw.
not just a mercenary, an outlaw
Mm.
dies, you drain for 1. So you gain 1 life and they lose 1 life, which was super annoying
Yep.
to play against. But Nezumi Linebreaker, I think, is like a staple in that deck. The 1 mana 1/1 that makes a mercenary whenever it dies. And the signpost uncommon, Ruthless Lawbringer, the 3 mana 3/2 that whenever it enters the battlefield, you can sack up a creature and destroy target non-land permanent.
Yeah, non-land permanent's a big upgrade on a card like that. And it
Mhm.
only
Yeah.
costs 3.
And
Yeah.
it's a 3/2 too. It's
Yeah.
just good.
It's,
Yeah.
it's on a reasonable body. Like, I feel like normally when it's like a creature that can blow up anything, it's like a 3 mana 1/1 kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this, they're just like 3 mana 3/2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super
Like,
good.
yeah.
And can blow up enchantments and artifacts, which can be relevant. Like there's some mythic and rare enchantments going around that do a ton.
Yep. That's all I got for Orzhov. It seems okay. But
I'm excited
I like
for
it.
Orzhov.
it's not my thing.
What do you got, Andrew?
Well, I went with I got on my archetype list was green black, and so in this set,
The most Andrew deck.
oh gosh, yeah. Actually I built it more aggro.
Mid-range.
I built it more, yeah. No, actually, I built it more aggro on this one. I was trying to basically try to get everything in early and then raise it back from the dead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the signpost uncommon, Honest Rustein. Actually, he's for 1 colorless, 1 black, 1 green. You get a 2/3, and then when he comes into play, you get to raise dead or you bring a creature back.
Busted.
Yeah, it's very strong, and then it lowers the creature's cost, which is really nice.
All creatures.
All
all
creatures,
creatures,
yeah.
Yeah, so that one's really good. And then the other signpost uncommon is a kind of raised dead, like a twist on raised dead. It's 1 green, 1 black, and 3. And so you get to raise dead a permanent and put a creature card from your graveyard into play. And then you get to actually get another creature and put it into your hand.
It's a permanent, right, to your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
But way
so-
worse than the first one.
No,
Way-
it seems really strong. And so I kind of built it more with an aggressive slant to it with the Nezumi, the 1/1s, and
Yeah.
just kind of trying to get value that way. It seemed all right. There were some good things. I wasn't too impressed by it. I think it just gets outclassed by so many things when you're trying to get advantage that way. I think just the creatures alone now have so much advantage on them. You know, when I was playing against Joel, he had a lot of evasion that I couldn't get around. The ward was really tough to get around. Navigating ward in this set's going to be really tough. They've really done a good job at balancing some of these.
Slapped it on everything.
Yeah, that's kind of been
They
the
slapped it on big dummies.
Well, that's kind of been the new thing that they've been doing. Big dummies kind of got outclassed for quite a while because the removal was so good. And then the little creatures would always come in and do something when the big creatures were just like, I'm a big creature.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, but I got trample and I'm like a 7/7. Okay, whatever. My 2-mana spell kill that. So now they're trying to remedy that with ward. And I think they may have pushed it a little too far because I think the removal spells in the last set we saw, removal spells were kind of getting a little edged out there.
Yeah.
And it actually became more about your pump spells. And I think that going forward now, we may have to look at more of these pump spells. Like there were some of the spells that, like you were talking about earlier, that shrink a creature and do something else. Or there's a
Skullduggery.
Yeah, like skullduggery.
Skullduggery is a bomb.
Skullduggery is a bomb. I
Take
mean,
the fall for Isit, where it's like it shrinks a creature and draws a card for a single mana.
exactly, yeah.
Disgusting.
Even though like it was like a first striking card that was good for one.
red one.
Yeah, the red one was just strong too. And so I think you're going to see things more like that now where they're wanting to have you tangle in combat. And so I found like even when I was playing with black's always been a good removal kind of thing. Last set, kind of weak because of that. And I think this set, it might suffer in that kind of range again where you have to really reassess the kind of removal that you're going to bring to the table. I was playing against Joel and he had just flip left or whatever.
Yeah, Ward 2, right?
Yeah, the Ward 2 is just like, oh, wow. Okay, this 4-mana card that would just exile something, just get off the field doesn't do it anymore. You got to wait till 5 now. Okay, crap. They're getting even more advantage out of it. Some of the spells have become a little bit more situational. Like there's a really good uncommon that, destroys something that's a non-outlaw,
which is so annoying.
Well, yeah, exactly. Which I found like it was in my hand for quite a bit of the game, and I couldn't really get those nice 2-for-1s or where sort of like a 2-for-1 where you're just like, I'm gonna attack with my guy, they're gonna double block and you get them.
Yeah.
And it's just not as easy anymore when there's like a double block on my mercenaries. It's like, oh crap. And then you look at your hand. I even like put it on the table because I was like, oh yeah, no, I can't do that. And so it was really kind of clunky in that way. And it might just be good sideboard fodder, or unless you're just really thinking about it as one of those like destroy a creature with 4 or greater, something where it has a real heavy condition on it. And I think that's the way you're going to envision some of these cards
I've
now.
seen it at its peak and at its like absolute lowest, where I cast it on like the 2-mana 2/3, the 3-mana 2/3.
I cast it on some random rare.
On a mythic rare. Like, yeah.
I think the removal in this set is the way it is because committing a crime payoffs are like kind of abundant. And so like I think the removal heavy decks are going to be the committing a crime payoff decks. And then I think like if you don't care about committing crimes, like removal is going to be worse.
Yeah. Like if you aren't getting a little extra treat off your removal spells, you don't want removal.
Yeah. Well, at least in the confines of like how we deck building for this deck construction, I really wasn't able to take advantage of that. Like sometimes you'll get 3 copies of something or you can get a little bit more. And so the deck constraints here really didn't allow me to go fully into that. Yeah. And it's just kind of what it was. But I thought something like a Snake Veil in this format is going to be really strong.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And so there was a time I got mana screwed quite a bit of the games. But like if I'd just had my 1 mana open, it would have just changed the entire course of the game, to have that Snake Veil open. Yeah. Or something like that to kind of stop some of this removal that's all right.
I also did want to note that committing a crime happens on target, so even if the spell fizzles, it still rocks.
I think it was more of the idea of just like saving your creature with this one spell. Like again, it's about spending your mana more efficiently than your opponent, and you see it a lot too with some of these new spells that we get with the spree. You're finding more ways of spending your mana. You're finding more ways of sequencing your spells. Anyways, I got way off topic, but anyways, I played Trash Town. Trash Town was good.
What's that one?
It's a 1 green, put 2 1/1 counters on target creature for 2. So it's a spree. So you get to keep up ticking this kind of like there's something, what was it? Escalate? Was that what it is?
Yeah.
Is Escalate? Yeah.
Yep.
So it's sort of like in that vein. And then for 1 more, you get to trample until the end of turn. And then for 1 extra beyond that, you can do this in any order, obviously, until the end of turn, target creature gains whenever this creature deals damage to a player, you get to draw 2 cards. So it's really strong in that kind of way where it's like, okay, well, I'll just cash in this 2 mana card for 2 cards.
I was really impressed with that one.
Yeah, it's a very strong card. So yeah, I thought the deck was all right. I built it more like not mid-rangey, just because I thought the Rutstein would be more leaning towards the aggressive sides. You really want those 1s and 2s getting in the graveyard like right away, and then you have some good spells like that Nezumi guy where it's just like, okay, cool, he died, but I got a merc for that, and it's like, yeah, the mercs are really good.
Yeah,
especially when they're like just on your 1/2 flyer that pings. It's just great. You're getting in for 2 now. You're actually able to start racing. And so I thought that was pretty good. And then for my other deck, I actually got to do blue-white, which was kind of fun. I kind of enjoyed it. It was one of those blue-white in this set it's a weird kind of thing, but they want you to like plot everything and just have open mana at all times. And so you're really like trying to get that big turn. It's kind of weird because you kind of associate that with like Storm, and Storm's always been a traditional like Isit kind of thing. Yeah. And so with the blue-white deck, you're really just trying to get a lot of board position, trying to play your instants. White's been pretty good recently about its removal has been very strong. Its flash creatures have been really strong, and now they have like holy cow, which is like the guy is just like man.
3 mana 2/2. You gain 2 life and scry 1.
Yep.
Yeah. Flying.
Yeah. Flying too. Yeah.
He seems pretty good.
Flash.
I'd like to mention, Flash.
Yeah, it's Flash. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's
and
just
then also there's a lot of random blink in this set. Like not even like random like only blink, like just incidental blink stapled onto other stuff.
Yeah.
So rebuying that ETB is very possible.
Yeah, there's like a saddle guy that does it. There's a spell that does it where it just blinks. And so I thought it was pretty good. I mean, that guy is just going to be one of the premier. Like we've seen his ilk before.
Yeah.
And even when it was toned down, when it wasn't, it was Angelic. What was the guy who?
The what is it called? It was like unbeatable. And
it was in Streets of New Capenna.
Streets of New Capenna had like a 70% win rate.
Yeah, it was like a mythic.
Angelic Overseer.
Angelic Overseer.
That's nothing like holy cow. Stop.
Well, no. But I mean, it's in that ilk. But actually, there was another guy. It was a 2/1 gained you 2 life in another set, and it was like, oh, that card's pretty bad. And it was like, oh no, actually, that card's actually kind of good still too.
Yeah.
And so holy cow's like just a step up from that because now you're tapping on some.
And it's like the funniest looking Magic card I've seen in a long time.
Oh, it's awesome. It's pretty epic.
Yeah.
Do yourself a treat and look it up. It's pretty good. The artwork's great.
The white blue deck's all about like not playing stuff from your hand. So like if you plot something, you still get all your end of turn triggers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you're wanting to play flash, you're wanting to play some instants. You're really kind of leaning on that, or you're trying to do like some loan sharking kind of things and stuff like that. So I thought it was pretty decent. I think it just needs. Maybe I could have built it a little bit better. Maybe just like really taking a deeper dive into it. I think that's going to be one of the formats or one of the archetypes where you're going to really need to like these are going to be the key cards. Yeah. Or just get a bunch of holy cows and just win.
I think it goes with green. I think like Bant, that deck focus is going to be insane.
I think Bant would be good. I don't know how 3-color decks would go. We kind of kept it to
basic. Yeah, we're not breaking the format.
I'm theorizing that I think Bant is going to play very well together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I kind of splashed in a couple rares here and there. I didn't really get to play them too much. Mainly, they were just kind of there. But I don't know. They were pretty good. I did enjoy the deck. I got to excuse me. I got the full Claim Jumper, which was kind of cool. I actually like Claim Jumper. He's a 3/3 for 2 colorless, 1 white. When he comes into play, if your opponent controls more lands than you get to search for planes. If they still control more lands, you get to search for planes again.
You put them on the battlefield?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Tapped.
Oh,
tapped. Yeah. So I'd like it was kind of cool the sequencing, and so I mean again it comes back to sequencing yet again. Sequencing.
I think this format's a little bit less punishing.
I don't know. I think this format's even more punishing actually because of that. Because everything is so high velocity now and high power level. The way you play your spells and the way like plot works is all about how you're sequencing. Like think about the way if you're going to take a turn off. Okay, what does that show? And you're not like, it's not foretelling, like your opponent gets to see what you're plotting. Yeah. And so there's certain things like how you're pacing that game and how you want to do that. Or do you just want to play it for its regular cost? And it's just like, okay, well, I'm pressing the board advantage here.
I feel like you can make a lot more of a comeback in this format than you could just because the cards are more powerful, right? Like
I think it's slower.
Yeah,
It's
I
slower.
think it's quite a bit.
But I
slower.
think once you get to those premium turns, like 4, 5, 6, it's very important that you're doing important things.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely some big like splashy late game threats you can do.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
Right.
that's what I love. Yeah, I love this format already.
Yeah.
So Andrew hates
my
it,
deck,
so it's gonna be good.
I had Isit and Rakdos, so kind of a red base. So for the Isit deck, it's all about casting 2 spells per turn. So things like Loan Shark are very Isit. You've got cards like Razzle Dazzler, which I was very impressed by. It's a 2-mana 1/2, and whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it can't be blocked. And it is really easy to cast 2 spells each turn.
Busted.
Like,
Yeah, it seems good.
it was very good. I played it on turn 2, and I cast 2 spells a turn. I think I took turn 3 off. And then every turn after that, I was casting 2 spells a turn. And it was just an unblockable scaling threat that absolutely had to be dealt with. And it's a pain to deal with because it gets out of the range of like red removal
Mhm.
kind of quickly, right?
Yeah.
And it just can't be blocked, right?
Yeah.
Other than that, there's also cards like Shackle Slinger, which I was also very impressed by.
Mhm.
It's 2 and a blue for a 3/2. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you choose target creature an opponent controls, and if it's tapped, you put a stun counter on it. Otherwise, you tap it. So
Yeah.
what I kind of like didn't realize the first time I read this was you can just chain this with itself, right? You
Yeah.
play this, and then you play another spell, and you put a stun counter on one of their creatures. It doesn't untap next turn. Next turn, you play 2 spells, you put another stun counter on that creature, and it's just never going to untap.
Wait, what does it do
Right.
again? I thought it was just when it ETB'd.
No, it's whenever you cast your second spell each turn.
Wow.
Mhm.
So it is this repeatable tap down that just absolutely, yeah, it does work.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's pretty impressive.
It seems like the Isit deck kind of like really feeds itself. Kind of like they stapled draw a card
does.
on everything. And Isit,
There's both really cheap like cantrip combat trick kind of things, like Take the Fall, where you shrink something for 1 mana and draw a card.
that card was insane.
Which I just passed it to draw a card and get my second spell triggers, right? I didn't even need the shrinking. Or Seize the Secrets, right? I had a decent bit of removal, so I would like on turn 4 cast like in Thunder Salvo on one of their things and deal 2, and then Seize the Secrets to draw 2 cards, trigger my twice a turn spells, trigger any commit a crime things I might have had out. It's just really easy to chain that kind of thing together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like a cool deck.
The last card that I was super impressed by was Nimble Brigand. It's a 3-mana 1/3, and it can't be blocked if you've committed a crime this turn.
Also a bomb
whenever
in
you-
Demir. Yeah.
Deal combat damage, you draw a card. It is remarkably easy to commit a crime.
Oh, yeah.
Like trivially easy. Not even remotely difficult.
Every card that
So-
you explained earlier that like to like enable casting 2 spells in a turn, all commit crimes.
Let me ask you this.
Exactly.
If it's so easy to commit a crime, what's even the point of having cops?
Calm down.
True. So I was just having it was like a 3-mana 1/3 that was just drawing me a card every single turn. And that gave me more gas to cast 2 spells every turn, and then you can commit more crimes with the spells you draw. So yeah, a lot of them just felt like an engine where it was super self-fueling.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So other than that, that's Isit. Rakdos is supposed to be about Outlaws,
Yeah.
but it's classic Rakdos play the good cards, at least in my experience so far.
Most of them are just
there's some
outlaws,
crimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like everything's an outlaw.
right? Yeah.
So the one of the signpost uncommons, Vile Smasher, Gleeful Grenadier. Whenever
Bomb.
another outlaw enters the battlefield under your control, it deals 1 to target opponent. Notably, this targets, it commits a crime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is also not limited to once per turn. It can trigger multiple times. And this
Yeah.
is on a 2-mana 3/2. So it's very reasonably static. So that can definitely do some work. Other than that, one of the combat tricks, Skullduggery, I was super impressed
Oof.
by. We mentioned it earlier. It's a 1-mana combat trick. It commits a crime because it gives one of your opponent's creatures -1/-1, and it gives one of your creatures +1/+1. So
8 out
I
of
used
10.
it to pump one of my creatures up in combat and kill a 1/1 mana dark,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just felt completely gross.
Do you disagree? 8 out of 10.
It really is that good.
I don't know about 8.
I don't know about
8
8.
is
8 seems
like
pretty high.
bomb level.
You're taking it
Yeah.
over murder, and you're not even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
that's
murder is a
like
1
6
for
at this
1.
point.
Yeah.
Do what?
Murder is no longer a 7, and I will
That's real.
stand by that.
That's true.
Wow.
It's true.
It's skullduggery. I literally beat Ryan one game.
Yeah.
Off fully the back of skullduggery.
Right.
Like,
A 1-turn skullduggery where you got 2 dudes. Like,
Robi,
yeah.
is it better than toxic analysis?
yes,
I don't know.
it is.
Yeah.
It is.
It doesn't draw you a card.
But
though.
like it goes with your
Or
deck. Like
lifelink.
it does draw you
Yeah,
a card.
it does,
Kind of.
'cause you have
like you have
stuff,
crime enable things.
it turns
Like you
on
have the
Lazov,
1/3.
Yeah.
It turns on Lazov. Like
Yeah.
it does more than draw you a card sometimes.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't draw you a card, it like kills 2 things, which is the equivalent of drawing a card.
Yeah.
It's
Like
insane.
drawing 2 cards.
I mean, it's a 2 for 1. It's a 1 mana. Like you will live throughout this entire format
Yeah.
being absolutely terrified of an open swamp. Period.
Yeah, and if you're not, you should be paying attention to it.
Yeah.
Can you splash it?
Maybe.
Is it splash
No.
skullduggery?
No, I don't
We
think-
splash 8s over here,
Maybe.
Ryan.
Maybe.
You better be splashing.
I don't see why you couldn't. Flashing
It's
Rutstein
only
anyway.
single pip. Yeah.
That's true. Guy's good. Guy's good. He's just gas.
I think that is a very
What are the-
splashable card. Yeah.
One of the other cards in Rakdos that really impressed me, although I think this might have been very matchup dependent, I think was very much one of the times when it just did work, and it's not always going to be that good, was Caught in the Crossfire. It's red with Spree, and you can pay 1 more to deal 2 damage to each outlaw, and 1 more to deal 2 damage to each non-outlaw.
And it's an instant, right?
So it is an instant.
Yeah.
So you can get some major blowouts
Yeah,
with
that's
this.
so dumb.
Where like they go to combat, you make a couple really suspicious chump blocks, and all of a sudden you wipe their board,
Yeah.
right? So the fact that it has the modality where you can choose to deal to only outlaws if they like have outlaws and you don't, it's just like a one-sided pseudo wrath kind of thing. Obviously it's damage based, it's only 2 damage. But 2 damage kills all of those 1/1 tokens that tap to pump,
Yeah.
right?
And
It
it's
kills
so
a lot of
it's
2 drops, if at all.
yeah, it's so easy
And
to
then you
set
can
that up
combine it
at
with
an
other
instant.
stuff.
Like that being an
Yeah.
instant, like you just
Yeah.
it's just free to set up. It's like they attack, I block with all my, X2s or less to set up this being a wrath,
Yeah.
a one-sided wrath.
Yeah. When we've had those before, man, they were so good.
You see the black one?
Which
It's like all your opponent's creatures get -1/-1, and you surveil 2
Oh.
or something.
Yeah,
It's an
yeah,
instant.
yeah.
Prevail too.
no,
Yeah.
I was thinking of volcanic fallout back in the day,
Yeah, or pyroclasm.
or pyroclasm, where you're just like you can really make questionable chump blocks or whatever. I think it was chump blocks because it's instant, but yeah, it
Yeah.
was very, very strong, and it felt that way again, where I was just like, oh, my board just got wiped,
Yep.
or punished ramping strategy,
Punished
something
for
like that.
having board.
I love the feeling of just like blowing up somebody's board with like 1 card. And it's so nice to get that back in this format after like just being beaten down by inside source tokens for an entire format. Yeah. Yeah, I just want to blow everything up.
all the nerds are back, boys.
Yeah.
All these control player nerds are coming back.
Oh, man.
And we're going to be disinformation campaigning you
Yeah.
over.
Intimidation.
Yeah,
campaign.
same
Intimidation
thing,
campaign.
basically. Yeah.
Yep, you already did. You already made me like, and it took you like 5 minutes to say pass one time. Like, oh my God.
You have to like come up with your strategy of like, how am I going to do all my crimes? They're premeditated, Ryan.
Yeah.
We just hella interrupted Joel.
Sorry.
You're all good. No.
Did you play the
One of
enchant?
other just like red commons that felt pretty good both in Isit and Rakdos was Irrational Wolverine. It's a 3-mana 3/2 with plot for 2 and a red, and when it ETBs, you exile the top card, and you can play it for end of turn. The
Yeah.
idea with this one is you plot it, you play it later. If you hit a spell, you have the mana to cast the spell. If you hit a land, you can play the land, right? And then it's on a reasonably sized creature, 3-mana 3/2.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't be
Every
afraid
time
to
I
play
played
that
that.
even on 3. If you're curving out, like, why get the value on it? You just
Yeah,
go for it
exactly.
right away. I mean, it's good. It's going to be a really good skill tester, this set.
Oh yeah, there's
Yeah,
gonna be-
when you play that, when you
Yeah.
plot it,
Yeah.
etc.
There's
I really liked it.
I think the skill is going to be like, there's going to be a lot of deck building skill, but I think it's going to be like back to play skill again on this one. I think everything, like we said, there's so many powerful cards in this set that it's really going to come down about like the decisions that you make in that game are going to be how things play out quite a bit.
Things you do are going to matter again.
I mean, the spree cards are just super decision intensive already because, like, you know, you only have X amount of mana. You want to do all the things, but you can't, right? Like,
this pre-release is going to time for the first like 3 or 4 rounds.
You gotta know the cards and just be like, yep, I know what it does. I know what it does.
I mean, this is just like, yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Do yourself a favor and really go on our sheets, look at our sheets, guaranteed winner, your money back. No, but really do yourself a favor, really kind of just take a good glance at the set beforehand. Cause those extra seconds of you saying pass could be the difference between you going to time or not.
Yep. So which one was better, Rakdos or Isit?
Isit definitely felt cooler. It was way more fun to play. But I put more bomby rares in Rakdos. I played both Gisa and Rakdos Colossal.
Yeah.
And that was probably too much, admittedly.
It felt like a Zoni. I mean, it really felt like a Zoni coming down. I was just like, oh my gosh, committing crime so damn easy.
Yeah, Giza's going to be
Giza's
a 10 out of 10, I think.
Yeah.
Bro, Giza's fire. Yeah.
I felt like for my money, for playing against it, I thought the Isit deck felt a little bit better, even on the commons and uncommons that it had. And just the fact
on
that
the average level, absolutely. If it was doing a super, Razzle Dazzler was nuts.
Yeah,
it was a 2-drop that dealt 12 damage, right? 14?
Yeah.
Like,
it was nuts. I mean, it was really, we see cards like that all the time where it's like you have to do the second thing to make it really good. This happens to be one of the ones where it's like, oh, it's getting beyond that 3/3. 3/3 has always kind of been the threshold for that. And now you're getting one that's like, I'm like a 4/5.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, crap, that's like a legit threat.
It starts out as a 1/2.
Yeah.
It becomes a 2/3 the next turn, right?
Yeah.
And then very quickly, it just gets out of control from there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But I think it was just the way it fed itself.
So everybody name their favorite deck. Ryan, what's up with you?
Well. I'm going to go with Gruul. I think I could do it better now.
Demir and Andrew.
I don't know. I didn't play all the decks, so I mean, like, I don't really know. I mean,
out of the ones you had, which one did you?
Out of the ones I had, probably the Azorius.
Yeah. It seems like the ceiling's higher with that. Yeah.
I think the cow's just going to push it over the top. It's probably going to be one of the top commons in the set.
I will say,
I'm
like,
super high on the cow.
Really? Oh man, it's good.
It's gonna be good.
It's strong.
It's gonna be very good. It's flash too.
I actually feel there's not a lot of flying disturbance in this set.
It's gonna eat so many of those 1/1 tap birds. It's not even funny. Yeah.
No, because they're just gonna tap one of them. Like you have 2 of them. It's a 2/1. Like, I mean, I guess like it's gonna come in and eat a 1/1.
Yeah, that's why
like
I said
a single 1/1 that's attacking on turn 3.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean,
all the time.
Then it just resets the math too because it gains life. You're scrying.
Lots of like
it's probably gonna be
life gain stuff. I love on this.
Like I don't think it's gonna go in every white deck.
Is it gonna?
I don't think it belongs in Orzhov.
I think it belongs.
It probably does.
Yeah, I think it belongs to any deck that can cast it.
They want to make tokens and sacrifice stuff. And it's not really good at that.
The mount deck.
And it scries too. It finds you your pieces.
Can you imagine?
I thought it only scried 1.
It scries 1, yeah.
Still,
scries 1.
Scry 1 still good. And it gains you life. You're prolonging that game. Even when you saddle it up on somebody else, you can bounce it back to your hand with the saddle guy. It's going to be strong.
Bouncing it back to your hand with the saddle guy could be sick.
I mean, you're just breaking the math every time you do it.
I think it's a Azorius card. I'm with you, Ryan.
I mean, I think it can go in slightly more than Azorius, but I don't think it's a ton.
How many pips is it?
1. Oh. There's a ton of 1 pip.
Oh, okay.
So like I think this might be a 3-color format.
So it's pretty splashable.
Okay,
if you're splashing Holy Cow and you beat me, I'll be upset.
You splash the skullduggery, I will be upset.
I would rather splash a skullduggery.
If you splash a skullduggery and you beat me, I will respect you as a man.
That's all right then.
That's right.
I would never consider Holy Cow in a pack 1 pick 1 that has skullduggery in it. I wouldn't consider it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Wow.
I wouldn't even remember that it existed in that pack.
So what do we have next, Ryan?
Robi and I ranked the signposts from what we think is the strongest to least strongest, and we have tiers. And they're in order on the tiers roughly. There was some debate between us, but you know, we compromised and did our best. Number 1, we have Lazav, Familiar Stranger. We already talked about that. So 1 blue black for a 1/4. Whenever you commit a crime, put a 1 counter, then exile something, and it can become that thing from any graveyard.
Mythic uncommon.
Seems absolutely busted. Like Robi said, it's Invasion of Amonkhet over and over and over and over and over again.
And it just gets bigger for no reason. Yeah.
You can do it on your opponent's turn to blank the removal. You can do it like all the time. Next up, we have Honest Rutstein. I think it's highly splashable. Any deck that's black and or green will want it. I mean, Gravedigger, but so much better. The creature cost reduction is insane on it. It's just power creep to the 10th level. Next up, we have Crom, Violent Cacophony. That's a 4 mana 2/3 flyer in Isit. And whenever you cast your second spell each turn, put a 1/1 counter on it and draw a card.
Busted.
It like enables itself by letting you draw that card, and it just makes you be able to chain your 2 spells more and more. Seems insane. Eartha Joe, Frontier Mentor. That's our next one. It's 2 and a red-white for a 2/4. When it enters the battlefield, make a mercenary, and whenever you activate an ability that targets a creature or a player, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. So we're already talking about how having the 1 mercenary is like pretty good and enables a ton of things. But when that mercenary gives +2/+0 or 2 +1/+0s, it just takes it up to another level.
Super dumb.
Then we have Vile Smasher, exactly for the reason Joel listed. It's a 3/2 for 3, and when you play a dude, you commit a crime. Stupid.
Yep.
Next, we have Ruthless Lawbringer. This is another highly splashable card. It's 1 in white and black for 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice another creature. When you do, destroy target permanent.
Busted.
White or black, I think you're going to want to sack
Any
that.
permanent. Yep. Non-land permanent.
And then just for the scare factor, we have Cactus Folk Sure Shot. It's the 4/4 Reacher.
That one's
4/4?
controversial to me.
It's controversial, but just like when you read it and your opponent's like, whatever you play could have haste and trample, like that's going to put them on the back foot for sure. That's our tier 1 cards. Next up, we have tier 2. At the beginning of tier 2 are my 2 most controversial at knife point. As long as it's that's a 3 mana enchantment in Rakdos. As long as it's your turn, creatures you control have first strike, and whenever you commit a crime, make a 1/1 mercenary. Activate only once each turn.
I think that's going to be a bomb. I think that's like an army in a can.
You can only do that as a source activate. Oh, never mind.
No, that's
the mercenary thing.
ability. Yeah.
Next up, we have Intimidation Campaign. That's Robi's favorite card. I think it's kind of like
I think it's like
card.
I think it's S tier.
S tier?
S tier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Holy cow.
That's the Demir ETBs. Each opponent loses, you gain 1, and you draw a card, and when you commit a crime, return to your hand. Then we have Wrangler of the Damned. I think that's going to be really strong, but it's super build-aroundy. That's a 1/4 flash for 5 at the beginning of your end step. If you haven't cast a spell from your hand this turn, create a 2/2 flyer.
Very good.
Congregation Gryff is in that same vein. It's a 3 mana 1/4 flying lifelink mount with saddle 3, and when it's mounted, it gets +X/X, where X is the number of mounts you control. It's impossible to race, but you have to have mounts. We have the other white-blue one, 3/3 flying vigilance for 4. Beginning of your end step, if you haven't cast a spell from your hand this turn, draw a card. Fairly statted, but again, requires work to really shine. We have Form of Posse. That's the X red white, create X/1/1 red mercenaries
I think it's good.
as a sorcery. I mean, 3 mana for 3 or 5 mana for 3 1/1s is not a good rate.
But 8 mana for 5 1/1s or 6 1/1s.
I don't know. We paid
Busted.
6 for 3 1/1s in the last set. Or for 3 1/1s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
they
3
had
1/1s.
flying.
They had flying.
But they also didn't tap.
And you can also put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control for 3.
That was the other side of it. But
Yeah.
You're just,
It's like the better side of it.
well, yeah, but I mean,
The good side of that card.
Yeah. We really didn't play it. Like, I don't think I ever made the 1/1. Oh, no, I did one.
oh
time.
no, I
did
made the
one
1/1s
time.
quite a bit.
I made the 1/1s, but only if the plan A of attacking and killing them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you actually made it to the mid game.
It was a decent plan B. I'll give you that. And then after that, the last card in the second tier is Miriam Herd Whisper. That's the 2 mana Celestia 3/2. As long as it's your turn, mounts and vehicles you control have hexproof. Whenever a mount or vehicle you control attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it.
Very scary.
That seems like it's just going to be if you can build around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real hard build around.
It really reminds me of that green-white card from this last set where it's like if you turn a creature face up, they both get a counter.
Oh
The
yeah,
Century, yeah.
Like it reads way better than it actually plays. 'cause
unless
you
you
have to build
got
so hard.
if you got the deck though, it was like
Yeah, if you have
the
the
guy
deck.
would just get out of hand like fairly quick. But I mean, you got to like
Yeah,
get in this.
Put bad cards in your deck.
Well, you got to put the blinders on and just say I'm only doing this,
right.
and I only see these, and nothing else matters.
And then you have to hope you draw that
Yeah.
enabler, right? Like, so That's where those decks tend to derail. It's
Yeah.
like you have the stuff, but you didn't draw the certain half of it that you needed.
Yeah, like I really needed this one piece at this very specific moment to make this all work.
That's why I think
Dude.
Demir is going to be the best
I
deck.
totally would have won if I had my Samoan Sentry on turn 2, right? Like, yeah, obviously, but you didn't. So you didn't.
the way I felt about Nops Spectre on 1.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, and for our bottom tier, we have Baron Bertram Greywater. That's a 3/4 for
Midwater.
2 and a white black. And that makes it an extra 1/1 token whenever you make a token and sacrifice another creature or artifact, draw a card. Then we have the green reanimate, the black green reanimate, Badlands Revival, return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, return 1 permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Another high build around type card that I think could really shine in some decks, but in a lot of decks it'll be kind of mid.
Man, I don't know. I think that might actually be good.
Yeah,
I think all of these
tier,
have a
actually.
home, and I think all of these like will be good in certain
I think
decks.
just because the creatures have so many abilities on them now, like you're getting so much more value than what it says on that card.
Yeah. It's just like comparing it to Urborg's Repossession seems like, like I don't like it as much.
I mean, Urborg's,
And Urborg's was in a set with like
Urborg's.
lower powered creatures. Like,
Urborg's was a different story.
yeah. It's like, would you rather have your first Badlands Revival or your second Rutstein?
Second.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. 100% of the time.
Me, yeah,
100%
second. I'm
second.
taking second Rutstein over it. I'm probably taking third Rutstein over it.
Fourth.
Ooh, I don't know. If
Yeah.
I don't know about
third.
fourth.
I would take
Rutstein is the perfect example of a card where one of the abilities you would already play the card.
Yeah.
3-mana 3/2 that picks up a creature, you play that card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
That's
3-mana
good.
3/2 that makes it cost 1 less, you play that card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we get
Mm.
both,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like that is just so push.
Yeah. My controversial one that I didn't think should be in the bottom tier is make your own luck. 3 and a green blue for a sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may exile a non-land card from among them. If you do, it becomes plotted, so you get to cast it for free next turn and put the rest in your hand. So draw 3 and plot 1 for 5.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, drawing 3 cards is traditionally good. We used to play this in
Harmonize. Yeah.
we used to play this and we get a 1/1 fairy out of it. In this case, we get way more than that, I feel like.
You get a free spell out of
Yeah,
it.
but your free highest cost spell that
Yeah.
you use through.
A free spell, but the one thing is like the fairy jump blocked a lot of the time to survive until you got to cast
I
it.
thought it couldn't block.
Right.
You can only block
It
flyers.
could only
It could block
flyers.
creatures with
Yeah.
flying.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of flyers in that
There are
set.
a lot of flyers.
It could jump block.
Yeah. I think with plotting though, like your board state's going to be fine.
I just think drawing 3 cards is probably going to just be good
Yeah.
on its own merit.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
but let's play the 4-mana draw 3 in blue that surveils 3 if we have no cards in hand.
Give us both, baby.
I'd
Why,
play
why
that.
does it have to be one
I'd
or the
play that all
other?
day. Although you have to have no cards
That's
in hand,
fair.
though. I
No,
mean,
you
really
get to
gotta-
draw the 3
I mean,
regardless.
You draw 3 either way.
Yeah.
You
You
just
just
draw
surveil
3
3 on
either
top
way?
of it.
You just surveil 3 if
Yeah.
you have no cards.
It's
in
like
hand.
strictly better Harmonize. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought it. Maybe I
Yeah.
read it wrong.
I
then.
texted a judge.
Did you
'cause-
really?
Yes.
And they said you just draw the 3.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah. You put
Oh,
them in
that's
your
just so much
hand.
better.
Yeah.
I sent him a picture and I was like, "Do I always draw 3?" And he's like, "Yep." I was like, "Okay."
Wow, that's wild.
Next up, we have Jolene, Plundering Pugilist. That's the 1 red green for the 4/2. Whenever 1 or more creatures with power 4 or greater attack, greater treasure, pay 1 in a red, sack a treasure, deals 1 to any target. 4/2s for 3 just doesn't seem like it's the place to be in this format.
Doesn't even get past the crab.
Yeah, like Isit's gonna kill it with this next card, Slick Sequence. 1 in a blue red for a instant, deal 2 damage. If you cast another spell this turn, draw a card. Like it's gonna feel
You
terrible.
put that in the bad section?
Yeah, it's so build aroundy and like literally half matchups, 2 damage does nothing. 2 damage does nothing.
Oh,
This is a crime.
that's a crime
So
itself.
it's cool.
Oh man.
And then last we have Doc Arlock, Grizzled Genius. That's the green, blue, 2/3. That plotting costs 2 less and spells you cast from your graveyard.
It basically
costs 2
does
less.
nothing. like,
Yeah. I mean, plotting costing 2 less is kind of big, but like you have to be heavily invested into it for it to matter.
Yeah.
And it is a 2-mana 2/3. Like the worst card we put in here is a 2-mana 2/3, which is highly playable. You know what I mean? Like all of these cards are very playable,
Mhm.
but we had to draw like imaginary lines somewhere. So
Man,
you think Slick Sequence is going to be, you think it's to be like an A tier, like a top tier
I
one?
think it's going to be one of those cards where you'd be like, damn, this guy slick sequence me again, or something like that. It's
if you're playing aggro Golgari, you're gonna think Slick Sequence is better, right?
I don't know.
Because it's like if you have smaller guys, I think it's gonna be. But like, there are certain decks that do not give a care in the world about taking 2 damage to any creatures.
Aggro is gonna not be good until the end of the format when people completely disregard it,
Yeah.
and then six
I don't
sequence will
know.
be good again.
I feel like there are some pretty
Rakdos is
efficient
good.
creatures that can just like kill fast.
Yeah.
Like
Well-
Isit, I was definitely killing fast.
Well, that's the other thing is like Slick Sequence is an Isit card, which is one of the 2 I believe premier aggro decks. So like,
Okay.
what other deck would want Slick Sequence? You know what I mean?
Oh, I mean,
Like-
is it only
Well,
card? I mean,
yeah.
just
Yeah.
Okay, but
right.
given the
you
nature
already
of
said
it.
it's going to be like 3 colors, right? Like there's.
Well, I think there'll be
things that
some. I don't think your
common.
tuned aggro decks can afford to be 3 colors. But yeah, I think like Commit a Crime deck would be sick. Like
It's like
what's red green Grixis?
yeah.
Red black blue.
Yeah.
I think it would be sick in Grixis. Like if you commit a crime, draw a card, and do all the stuff. Like that's pretty insane. But yeah, bottom tier. Prove me wrong.
Play Grixis.
I will.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
it's gonna be bonkers in Grixis. Like I'll admit that. But like the prerequisites are like play Grixis, have crime payoffs, and also play this card. That's like 3 things you have to do.
I mean, the crime payoffs just happen though.
It's super free. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yep, that's our list.
Yep.
Half of us already don't agree, so you know it's controversial.
So is that all we got this week, Ryan?
Yeah, I think so.
Alrighty.
All right, we'll catch you boys on Flippy Flop.
Bye.